extortions and shootings are still a big concern for the businesses. They're scared. Why aren't you naming these accused being deported and being arrested? People want to know.
How important it is for the community to know the names of the people who have been deported. It is a public safety issue, in my opinion, because if somebody knows that it was their neighbor who was deported, they could call police and say, you know what? I saw these things happening at the house of that guy that I saw on the news who was deported, and that information can help advance the criminal investigation. If people don't know the names, they can't call Crime Stoppers and share the information that they know about these individuals.
Alberta Premier has declared to pass the legislation this week, overruling federal gun buyback program and allowing Albertans to defend their homes. Why don't you enforce castle protection law in BC? I have found out that it's within your powers.
I can pass the legislation, but unfortunately I can't override the federal criminal code.
If Alberta Premier can do it, why can't you?
Because she is ignoring the limits of her constitutional authority. And without these rules, you are taking a tool away from police to seize guns, to disrupt this activity. And our goal, and Mr. Sen, I would absolutely campaign on this. Our goal is to give police as many tools as we can.
Let's talk about the pipeline. What's your latest position on the pipeline?
I guess the part that I don't understand, Mr. Sen, is if we're starting from zero and we're having a conversation about how to use Canada's resources, why are we not talking about building refineries in Canada? As Canadians, we import a lot of jet fuel, diesel, and gasoline from the U.S. This is the time to build refineries and be energy independent. This is the time for us to export refined products around the world.
ਇੱਧਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਜ BC ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡੇਵਿਡ ਈਬੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਟੈਲੀਫੋਨ ਲਾਈਨ ਤੇ ਨੇ ਆਨਰੇਬਲ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਆਫ BC ਡੇਵਿਡ ਈਬੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਹਨ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਗੁੱਡ ਮਾਰਨਿੰਗ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਵੈਰੀ ਮਚ ਫॉर joining us
Good morning, Mr. Sen. Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling today? You have two opposition leaders against you.
Yeah, it's a confusing time in the BC legislature, Mr. Sen, and I should have a big smile on my face, to be honest, and certainly part of me is glad to see my opponents in chaos. They've been this way since they were elected, Mr. Sen. We've seen various defections from their team, coups against the leader, all kinds of wildness. It really has reached a new level with former Conservative MLAs out involved in some kind of near riot at the University of Victoria, and then the now two leaders of the Conservative Party. The reason I'm not actually smiling is I think when people look at Victoria and they think about politicians and they think about what's happening here, they don't necessarily think Conservative NDP. They think, look at those politicians, look at that chaos, look at that stupidity that's going on. These people don't know what they're doing. And that's a big problem because right now, when we face the threats from the United States, when we have to rebuild our economy and focus less on the U.S. and do some really heavy lifting, we need people to have confidence in both the opposition and in the government, that we're all working to grow the economy. And through the chaos, the message came out clear from the Conservatives. They are not standing for economic growth. They stood shoulder to shoulder with the Green Party to oppose a transmission line, the North Coast transmission line, that's going to open up $50 billion of investment in the North Coast, the northwest of our province, that's going to feed electricity to an LNG project that's going to deliver tens of billions of dollars to our provincial economy. They tried to stop that from happening. And we made it a confidence motion, and we said, we will stake our government on this because we have to grow the economy. We have to support families. You can see the impacts of the Trump tariffs showing up here and in Ontario with significant job losses. We have to do this work. And so to have them in total chaos right now, it actually harms every British Columbian. And I think, Mandeep Dhaliwal, Brian Tepper, Linda Hepner, to be silent at the hardest moment now means they're going to be silent again when another hard issue comes up. They need to speak out against this chaos and confirm that they're on the side of British Columbians and they're going to fight for their jobs and they're going to fight for the economy and stop voting against economic growth for our province.
Mm-hmm. Well, even if you're up against two opposition leaders, that drama is going to be, I think, having a drop scene pretty quick. But Let's talk about the pipeline. What's your latest position on the pipeline?
Same position as ever, Mr. Thin. There's no project. There is no pipeline. There's no money. There's no route. There's no proponent. There is, rightly, an oil tanker ban off the North Coast. But, I guess the part that I don't understand, Mr. Thin, is if we're starting from zero and we're having a conversation about how to use Canada's resources, why are we not talking about building refineries in Canada? Why is the number one goal of Alberta and the federal government to ship raw bitumen to other countries so they can refine it? In BC, we still import a lot of gasoline from the United States. As Canadians, we import a lot of jet fuel, diesel, and gasoline from the U.S. This is the time to build refineries and be energy independent. This is the time for us to export refined products around the world. And so, I guess I just wish for more ambition, and I wish for a government in Alberta that doesn't want culture wars, but actually wants to grow the economy and work with British Columbia.
Premier, you have changed your stance on the pipeline. Would you be flexible on the oil tanker ban also?
Absolutely not. This oil tanker ban existed and was aggressively defended by multiple governments, including Christy Clark, when she was the leader of the BC Liberal Party, including Conservative administrations federally for generations, because the oil spill would decimate a $1.7 billion economy on our coast. All the fish that people enjoy in British Columbia, the salmon, the crabs, this is the area where the vast majority of it comes from. And an oil spill would shut down that entire fishery. And so that's why people are very anxious about that and why we need to look for alternatives. There is a Trans Mountain pipeline that we own as a province and as a country. Every Canadian owns a piece of it. It's not at full capacity. It could be expanded if necessary. And instead of doing that work, we're talking about a project that doesn't actually exist and one that puts at risk tens of billions of dollars in real projects that has the support of First Nations that are ready to go. I don't know if your listeners know, Mr. Thin, but the largest private sector investment in Canadian history for the second time reaches final investment decision next year. That's the LNG Canada Phase 2 project. And that project will employ literally thousands of Canadians. It will provide billions of dollars of revenue to our province and to the federal government. And it depends on the support of the First Nations who say, do not remove that oil tanker ban. So I'm trying to get that project across the line. I'm trying to deliver jobs and prosperity for British Columbians. And the Conservatives are working with Danielle Smith on a non-existent pipeline that will undermine the largest private sector investment in Canadian history that's going to put money in the pockets of British Columbians and help fund our government, help fund public services for people. And it's just wildly frustrating. They stood with Trump when he started attacking our economy instead of British Columbians. Now they're standing with Danielle Smith instead of British Columbians. When will the moment come when they actually decide to stand with British Columbians and grow our economy? I can't believe they voted against the North Coast transmission line. It's unbelievable.
Premier, one of your policies is very good when you give the mandate to every cabinet minister. You've given the mandate to Josie Osborne, health minister, to cut administration costs. Right now, Premier, $347 million is the administration health care expenses. It's very concerning. When can we expect any progress? Because she has failed to follow your mandate. Fraser Health, Coastal Health Authority, including Fraser Health too, Coastal Health has 16 vice president. Every president is getting $250,000 average wages. I mean, that's not really the way you were. When you were pro bono, you were a totally different person. How can you take this expenses, public money, being wasted on the administration?
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Thin. You and I are on the same side on this issue. We absolutely need to reduce those administration costs. And actually, there was an announcement this week. The minister has been working hard with her team to do exactly what I directed them to do, and to cut down the administration costs across health authorities to ensure that the money goes to the front line. So we announced that we will be dramatically reducing the size of these health authorities. that we will be centralizing the purchasing so that each health authority isn't buying their own gloves and their own this and their own that, so that it's cheaper for us to buy stuff. And in addition, we're also doing support for the health authorities to ensure that we're able to leverage technology. One of the biggest frustrations that companies in BC have is that they have technologies that could help save time, be more efficient, and so on. But because of the structure of the health authorities and the fact that, as you say, there's a whole bunch of vice presidents or whatever.
Nope. You have given clear instructions to get rid of those kind of vice presidents? Superfluous expense?
Instructions could not be clearer to reduce administration costs. And in fact, that has been happening. We've reduced by 800 full-time employees. Actually, no, the number is now more than 1,000. That was a few months ago. It was 800 full-time employees equivalents that are doing administration to ensure that. And the other piece of this, Mr. Sin, is the medical professionals get very frustrated because they have ideas about how to make things more efficient, and they want to tell government about how that can happen, but it gets blocked by these health authorities that are between them and government. So we're going to shrink that distance between the frontline workers and government so we can work together to deliver a more efficient healthcare system. It's not work that happens overnight, but very significant announcement this week about where we're going and how we're going to be able to do that without compromising care for people. You know how an effective health authority can be in delivering care, but you also know how an ineffective health authority can cause big problems. And so we want to do this the right way.
Premier, when is the new hospital of 168 beds opening in Surrey?
Well, it's well under construction. I encourage people to drive by. Also, the new St. Paul's Hospital is well under construction. The SkyTrain is well under construction. Everywhere you look in the province.
Now, any opening date for the hospital?
That's a good question, Mr. Thin. I don't have that right in front of me. I think it's
because I have a report that is opening in 2030.
I don't think that's right, Mr. Thin. But I'll absolutely get you the date. I apologize for not having that date right in front of me. And we'll make sure that we get you the date. It is a very significant project. This is the largest private sector or the largest healthcare investment south of the Fraser in a generation.
But still, it's 15 years. It took 15 years to open a hospital. Do you think it's a reasonable time?
We were in government for about 7 of those, and that was our first priority, and we started work immediately. The previous government sold the land for the hospital, as you know, Mr. Thin, and we've made our case on the fact that they decided not to do that or the new medical school, which is admitting its first cohort of students in Surrey for September to start studying to become the doctors of the future in Surrey. So, I think I would certainly invite comparison of our record with the previous government, and particularly our building of the medical school. I'm going to be out in Surrey for the cardiac catheterization lab celebration as we open that up, and the interventional radiology, so that people don't have to travel for that anymore at Surrey Memorial Hospital. The medical school, we're training local professionals in the SkyTrain so that people can get around that amazing city. We're going to keep doing this work for Surrey and delivering.
This is probably a year-end interview. Extortions and shootings are still a big concern for the businesses. They're scared. Why aren't you naming these accused being deported and being arrested? People want to know. Are you planning to change any threshold for charging people?
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Thin. A couple points there. First of all, one of the key issues I raised in the roundtable we had last week with all of the police forces, the mayors, the federal government, Canadian Border Services Agency, was exactly this issue, how important it is for the community to know the names of the people who have been deported. It is a public safety issue, in my opinion, because if somebody knows that it was their neighbor who was deported, they could call police and say, you know what? I saw these things happening at the house of that guy that I saw on the news who was deported, and that information can help advance the criminal investigation. If people don't know the names, they can't call Crime Stoppers and share the information that they know about these individuals. And so Canadian Border Services Agency advised us that they were restricted, that the lawyers were telling them unless there was a public safety issue, they couldn't release the names. But I was very clear with them, and I'm clear here on the air, and I've been talking to my federal counterparts, there is a public safety issue. The public needs to know these names so that they can call in with information about what they've seen these individuals involved in, who they were hanging out with, who they were working with, and if they have video of cars coming and going from the homes, from their Ring doorbells or whatever, they're going to be able to provide that to police. So I am strongly pushing for that. The second piece is around Crown Counsel. Yes, through the Attorney General. The Attorney General has been speaking with the Prosecution Service. The Prosecution Service has been working with police and advised them that they will absolutely consider a lower threshold for charge approval if cases are brought forward from police. So they're working closely with police on the timing of charges.
Have you given any time frame to the Attorney General that this should be, done by this date? Because it's happening every day. People are being released after catching them.
Yes, and so the critical piece for the Crown is they get the file from the police that enables them to lay the charge. And they're doing that work. We've ensured that they have the resources they need to do it quickly. They're working closely with police. And Mr. Sen, the goal here is not just to get the frontline people who are doing the shooting, the international student who's broken, who was exploited by a gangster. We want to get the gangster behind the international student who's running this so that we can take it out at the root and not just pull off a couple of leaves. So that's what the police, I understand, are really focused on and what we're encouraging them to focus on to really stop this activity.
Premier, lastly, Alberta Premier has declared to pass the legislation this week overruling federal gun buyback program and allowing Albertans to defend their homes. Why don't you enforce castle protection law in BC? I have found out that it's within your powers.
Well, actually, the criminal code is not within my powers.
Not criminal code, but you can pass a legislation.
I can pass the legislation, but unfortunately, I can't override the federal criminal code. That is a federal law.
If Alberta Premier can do it, why can't you?
Because she is ignoring the limits of her constitutional authority. She cannot control the criminal code, and many, many people have pointed this out in response to her efforts. But, Mr. Thin, there is actually a really important point here that I don't want us to miss, is that when the Conservatives were campaigning, they campaigned that they were going to direct the provincial police forces not to enforce federal firearms laws. And that's exactly what Danielle Smith is doing. She's directing provincial authorities not to enforce federal firearms laws. And you just look at what's happening in Surrey with extortion and imagine a scenario where the Premier of British Columbia, who is a Conservative, says, no, we're not going to enforce federal firearms laws. That is exactly what's happening in Alberta and exactly what enables the kind of activity and emboldens the kind of activity that has got people terrified in Surrey right now. We need to tighten our firearms laws.
But these firearms, not the law-abiding hunters or farmers or shooters they have. These are illegal guns coming from the United States or somewhere else. I mean, the ordinary people who live in their farm or who are the hunters, they don't really do the shootings. They are not criminals.
Do not allow the Conservatives to confuse this issue. In Prince George, last week, police raided a house and seized guns that they were able to seize from a drug house in Prince George because of federal firearms rules. When they go after people engaging in extortion in south of the Fraser and they seize guns, one of the tools they have is federal firearms rules. And without these rules, you are taking a tool away from police to seize guns to disrupt this activity. And our goal, and Mr. Sen, I would absolutely campaign on this. Our goal is to give police as many tools as we can to disrupt criminal activity. And this doesn't have anything to do with the registered shotgun of a farmer or a hunter or anything else. What it has to do with is automatic rifles and weapons that are used by gangsters, and police need these tools to go after these handguns and other guns to disrupt this activity. And, you know, if there's a collector who unfortunately is impacted by this, I feel badly about that. That's not the goal. But it is a small price to pay to ensure that our communities are safer from gun violence and that police have all the tools they need. What you are going to see from us, Mr. Thin, is whatever we can do to give police more tools around firearms, not less tools, but more tools to seize firearms, we're going to do it.
In closing, Premier, anything else you'd like to say to the people of BC and particularly the people of Surrey?
Mr. Sin, I don't know about you. It feels a long way from Christmas, but here in Victoria, where I am right now, the Christmas lights are out. We're down for the holiday season. I want to say an early Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I'm sure we're going to talk again before Christmas, but man, I'm feeling the Christmas spirit right now in Victoria, and I want to wish you and your family and your listeners a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and I'll be seeing you all very soon.
Premier, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Thank you very much for giving us time.
Thank you, Mr. Sin.
Bye-bye. BC ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਡੇਵਿਡ ਈਬੀ ਹੋਰਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੀ ਗੱਲ ਦੱਸੀ ਹੈ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਕਾਫੀ ਟੀਕਾ ਟਿੱਪਣੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਆ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੂਤ ਆਈ ਹੋਈ ਆ ਹੁਣ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਧੜਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਫਟ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। ਦੋ ਆਪੋਜੀਸ਼ਨ ਲੀਡਰ ਨੇ ਕੁਝ ਮਿੰਟਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਜੌਨ ਰਸਟਡ ਆਪਣਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਦੇ ਦੇਣ। ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਆਲਰੇਡੀ ਕਨਸੋਆਂ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਛੱਡ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਕਨਸੋਆਂ ਨੇ ਇਹ ਹਾਲੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਵੈਰੀਫਾਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਕੀਤਾ। ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫੋਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਵੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਦੱਸੋ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਕੁਝ ਦੇਰ ਤੱਕ ਅੱਜ ਦਿਸ ਮੋਰਨਿੰਗ ਮੈਂ ਸਟੇਟਮੈਂਟ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ। ਬਾਕੀ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਿਆਂ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਾਈਪਲਾਈਨ 'ਤੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਟੈਂਸ ਬਦਲ ਲਿਆ ਸੀ, ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਟੈਂਕਰ ਬੈਨ 'ਤੇ ਤਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਦਲ ਲਓਗੇ? ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਟੈਂਕਰ ਬੈਨ 'ਤੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੈਂ ਬਦਲਾਂਗਾ। ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਡਮਿਨਿਸਟ੍ਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਆ ਕੋਸਟ ਹੈਲਥ ਕੇਅਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਿਆ $347 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਹੈ। ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਚੇਤੇ ਕਰਾਇਆ ਕਿ 13 16 ਵਾਈਸ ਪ੍ਰੈਜ਼ੀਡੈਂਟ ਰੱਖੇ ਹੋਏ ਆ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਤੱਕ ਘਟਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਸੀ 800 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ। ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੈਂਡੇਟ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹੋ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਆਫ ਹੈਲਥ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਮੈਂਡੇਟ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਹ ਪੂਰਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕੇ ਹਾਲੇ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਲੱਗੇ ਹੋਏ ਨੇ ਸੀ ਅਤੇ 1000 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਸੀਨੀਅਰ ਐਮਪਲੋਈਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਘਟਾ ਦਿੱਤੇ ਜਾਣਗੇ। ਅਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਹੋਸਪਿਟਲ ਬਾਰੇ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਨਿੱਕਾ ਹੋਸਪਿਟਲ ਬਣ ਰਿਹਾ 168 ਬੈੱਡ ਦਾ ਸਰੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਅਤੇ ਕਿ ਕਦੋਂ ਬਣਨਾ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੈਡੀਕਲ ਕਾਲਜ ਵੀ ਬਣਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ, ਇਹ ਉਹ। ਮੈਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੱਸੋ ਕਦੋਂ ਬਣਨਾ ਹੈ, ਚਾਲੂ ਕਦੋਂ ਹੋਣਾ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਮੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ, ਮੈਂ ਮੁਆਫੀ ਚਾਹੁੰਦਾ, ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੱਸ ਦੂੰਗਾ। ਫਿਰ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਜੀ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਪਤਾ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਦੱਸ। ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਿਆ, ਮੈਂ ਕਿਹਾ 2030 'ਚ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ 2030 ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ, ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਦੱਸੂੰਗਾ। ਪਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਕੋਲ ਰਿਪੋਰਟਸ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਨਿੱਕਾ ਹੋਸਪਿਟਲ 2030 'ਚ ਖੁੱਲ੍ਹੇਗਾ। ਬਾਕੀ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਜ਼ਿਕਰ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ 15 ਸਾਲ ਲੱਗ ਗਏ ਇੱਕ ਨਿੱਕਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਹੋਸਪਿਟਲ ਖੋਲ੍ਹਣ ਨੂੰ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਤਾਂ 7-8 ਸਾਲ ਹੀ ਹੋਏ ਆ, ਬਾਕੀ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਹੋਰ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਸੀ। ਸੋ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਐਕਸਟੋਰਸ਼ਨ ਦੀ ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੀਤੀ। ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਜਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਗਨ ਬਾਏਬੈਕ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਨਫੋਰਸ ਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਇਨਕਾਰ ਕਰਤਾ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਇਸ 'ਤੇ ਥੋੜ੍ਹੇ ਜਿਹੇ ਤੈਸ਼ 'ਚ ਵੀ ਆ ਗਏ ਸਨ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਧ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਕੰਮ। ਗੰਨਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਫੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਪ੍ਰਿੰਸ ਜੋਰਜ ਤੋਂ, ਅਸੀਂ ਫਲਾਣੇ ਥਾਂ ਤੋਂ। ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਜੀ ਉਹ ਗੰਨਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਸ਼ਿਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਕੋਲ ਨੇ, ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਫਾਰਮਰਾਂ ਕੋਲ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਕੋਈ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਮੀਨਲ ਲੋਕ ਤਾਂ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਗੇ, ਉਹ ਤਾਂ ਸ਼ਰੀਫ ਆਦਮੀ ਨੇ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇਹ ਗੱਲ ਤੇਰੀ ਠੀਕ ਵੀ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਆ, ਪਰ ਗੰਨਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹ ਇਹ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ। ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਣਾ ਘਰ ਡਿਫੈਂਡ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਜੇ ਅਲਬਰਟਾ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰੀਮੀਅਰ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਉਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ? ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਰੀਅਲਾਈਜ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ, ਉਹਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਉਹ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਕੰਮਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਖਲ ਨਹੀਂ ਦੇ ਸਕਦੀ। ਸੋ ਇਸ ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਖਤਮ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕ੍ਰਿਸਮਸ ਦੀ ਮੁਬਾਰਕਬਾਦ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਨੂੰ, ਸਭ ਨੂੰ। ਹੁਣ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਗਲੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੋਣੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਸੁਰੇਸ਼ ਮੈਦਾਨ ਜੀ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਏਗੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲਗਾਤਾਰ ਇਹ ਖਬਰਾਂ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਓਲਡ ਏਜ ਸਿਕਿਉਰਿਟੀ ਬੈਨੀਫਿਟਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਸ ਕਈ ਤਬਦੀਲੀਆਂ ਆਈਆਂ ਨੇ। ਇੱਕ ਤਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਟਾਈਮ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਆ, ਦੂਜਾ ਹੈ ਐਲੀਜੀਬਿਲਿਟੀ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਟੇਰੀਆ ਬਾਰੇ, ਇਹ ਹੈ ਰਕਮ ਬਾਰੇ। ਰਕਮ ਵੱਧ ਗਈ ਆ, ਕਿੰਨੇ ਸਾਲ ਇੰਤਜ਼ਾਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਪਏਗਾ, ਕਿੰਨੇ ਸਾਲ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਪੈਨਸ਼ਨ ਨੂੰ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਕੋਈ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵ ਪੈਂਦਾ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ। ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੀ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਸੁਰੇਸ਼ ਮੈਦਾਨ ਜੀ ਦੱਸਣਗੇ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪੇਸ਼ੇ ਦੇ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਅਕਾਊਂਟੈਂਟ